Part 94. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 937. Tao Ran was afraid that the system would determine that there was something wrong with her getting through the level, so she hurried forward and walked a short distance away from the street sign on the 72nd floor before clicking on the system message. As expected, this information is for the 71st floor. But since she had already passed the test and there was indeed a loophole in the rules, the system did not mention her foul at all. But the monk who can run away cannot run away from the temple. She caught system bugs, and the system also caught her faults. The player destroyed the game facilities for no reason, causing huge losses and repair problems to the system. In order to set an example and let players take a warning, the system determined that the player will be punished. The punishment results are as follows: the player will open the punishment roulette 3 times. 3 times. That's a lot. However, Tao Ran was still slightly happy in his heart. If she plays that game normally, she is not someone who can pass the level after playing it 3 times. I'm afraid there will be some grinding on this level by then. From this point of view, she still took advantage. Tao Ran, I have entered level 72 now. Can I draw this roulette later? Assistant, okay. Sister, call me when you're ready. After the assistant reached level 8, she had a shining magic wand in her hand. Although her outfit was not complete, it looked like it now. I was already very proud when I went there. And Tao Ran is now a pauper again. She only has less than 2,000 points left in total. I don't want to think about this for now, let's get through the level first. Once again, it was pitch black ahead, with no light at all. And the sound of that doll crying was getting closer and closer. Taking out the mine hat flashlight again, Tao Ran moved forward cautiously. The further she walked, the more she felt something was wrong. She felt like she was walking underground. And this kind of corridor, could it be a cemetery? Thinking of the previous test that was all about folklore knowledge, and the structure of the cemetery mentioned in the book, she became even more sure of her judgment. Is this floor a horror type again? Just as I was thinking this, I stepped on something soft under my feet. There was a squeak, and Tao Ran subconsciously loosened his feet and put his hand on the wall. When I shined my flashlight, I saw a black rat scurrying out. Nausea. But it wasn't just the mice that were disgusting. Tao Ran retracted his hand that was supporting the wall. The sticky feeling made one of her hands itch. When he opened his hand, he saw several unknown mollusks, corpses in his hand. Yellow-green pus stained his hands. There are 2 milky white larvae squirming. About to vomit. Wash your hands and disinfect quickly. Tao Ran became irritable. She was about to speed up her pace when her ankle suddenly felt cold. Mother! A python with a thick wrist had climbed up to her feet. It was wrapping around him, and Tao Ran could almost feel his ankle being tightened. Before it was completely entangled, Tao Ran quickly picked out the snake with her long sword. Using the flashlight, she saw densely packed groups of things flapping their wings in many corners above her head. Is it a bat? But how come bats have glowing green eyes? The corridor is finally coming to an end, and a sudden opening can be seen in front of it. It seems that is the mission point. Tao Ran quickly quickened his pace. However, she took less than 10 steps when she realized something was wrong. Because she was just in case, she kept tapping the road ahead with her long sword to find the way, but when she just struck down with the sword, it was empty. She stopped suddenly, but found that something was wrong under her feet. She retreated sharply, but her speed was no match for the collapse of the ground beneath her feet. Centered around her, the pavement 10 meters in front and back cracked and collapsed. Used Qinggong to fly to the side. Although the walls on both sides were a little disgusting, and she might catch all kinds of snakes, insects, rats, and ants with a slap, but with her ability, as long as she could borrow some strength and hold onto the wall, she would definitely be able to prevent her from falling. She didn't want to have any accidents before ensuring the correct route to cross the border. She had to see if there was a trap or a passage below before deciding which way to go. Although there are many ideas in the mind in 1 second, plans often do not change quickly. Never imagined. Not only did it collapse below, but a large force of strong suction suddenly appeared. Taoran's fingertips here had just vaguely touched the wall, and were already carried downwards by the force, and everything was empty under his feet. It fell. The kind that can't escape the suction. Although Taoran tried her best to adjust her falling posture to ensure that she would land with minimal damage, she still could not stand firm. With a thud, she fell onto a hard object. For a moment, the sky was filled with flying ash, which made her cough several times. Flashlight passed by, and there was another huge space here. Empty and echoing. When the flashlight light was turned to its maximum intensity, the edge of the space could not be seen. For a moment, Taoran was not sure whether his fall was inevitable or accidental. There was no sound at all in the entire space. It was so quiet that you could almost hear your own heartbeat and the sound of swallowing saliva. That horrible feeling came back again. And the next second, in this extremely quiet environment, a loud cry of wow suddenly appeared. It was that doll cry that was heard over and over again. It's really scary to be surprised. Taoran not only felt his little heart twitching several times, but he also jumped out. The reason is because the source of the crying now is not elsewhere, but right under Taoran, that is, from the hard object that just fell. Can't she escape? Only then did she focus on that thing, a rectangular piece of hardwood with dust and spider webs all over it. Taoran breathed out from the tip of his nose. Isn't this a coffin? So he just landed on a coffin? And the cry came from this coffin. Unlucky. So, can she not touch the coffin? She looked around for any other clues. Unfortunately, did not find. Nothing at all. So, the clue is still on the coffin. Taoran could only start to circle around the coffin to observe. The coffin is large, not Chinese style. It looks pretty solid, and the wood must be pretty good. The carvings on it are complicated and exquisite, probably not something ordinary people can afford. But if you look closely, you can see that there are scratches and damage in many places, which must have been caused by something. As Taoran approached, the cries from the coffin became louder. It was undoubtedly a clear indication that she would open the coffin. There is no choice but to do it. Taoran rolled up his sleeves. After thinking for a while, she put down her sleeves again. She found a protective mask, protective clothing, and protective gloves. After putting them on fully armed, she tied a flashlight on her waist and shoulder respectively, inserted a top-grade dagger on her waist, and grabbed her sword to prepare to open the coffin. Lure her here, there will be ghosts if there is nothing. She soon discovered that there was indeed a problem. The coffin was not sealed, and there were no coffin nails. The quality of the coffin is also really good. The wood is thick and heavy. She used almost 70% of her strength to lift the coffin lid. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 938. Taoran was not ready to lift the lid of the coffin, so he could only carefully open a crack. The strong light passed through the gap, but I couldn't see anything. It was still dark inside. Continuing to slide the coffin lid to one side, the sword in her right hand tightened. She didn't forget that the NPC told her that she needed to suppress the evil spirits. What do evil spirits look like? Have no idea. No matter how you look at it, the so-called evil spirits should be closely related to things like coffins, right? What will happen when you open it? Evil spirit? Ghost? Spirit? Corpse? It's hard for her not to think about things. A quarter of the contents of the coffin have been exposed. She expected some corpses, mummies, skeletons, or other strange things to appear, but she didn't see them. Keep driving. By twisting the coffin lid 90 degrees, you can basically see the entire inner coffin. There is really nothing. I saw nothing scary or frightening. There was only a crying doll with eyes closed in the coffin. She poked the doll with the tip of her sword, and the boy stopped crying immediately. The whole world fell silent again. So, is this the prop to lure her here? Taoran's attention was attracted by the small unknown objects next to the doll. She grabbed some to examine. It smells like spice. It should be used for antisepsis, deodorization, and drying. After flipping through it again, it seemed that it was still a little black and gray. Burnt. It shouldn't be. Weird. Such a good coffin should not be empty inside, since all kinds of precious spices are used. It means that the body must be preserved inside. If it is so particular, how can it let the black ash fall into the coffin like this? She once again paid attention to the patterns around the coffin and coffin lid. They seemed very particular. But why can't I sew it? After walking around the coffin again, Taoran understood. Taoran gained courage and planned to reach in and explore again to see if there were any partitions or something like that. It turns out, still not. But she touched a small piece of white cotton-like rag. She squatted down again, wanting to see what was on the inner layer of the coffin lid. This time she seemed to see something. When I turned on the flashlight, there seemed to be some special symbols painted on the inner cover. It's a bit like the talismans drawn in the world of cultivating immortals in the past. She couldn't see clearly. Couldn't help but get closer. And the next second, Taoran was almost sent away. A pair of bloody and resentful eyes suddenly looked up from far to near. He teleported in front of her, only a punch away from her. God knows how scary this moment is. It's the doll's eyes. In Taoran's subconscious, he only remembered that it had its eyes closed. So not only can its eyes open and close freely, but it can also switch freely between innocence and terror and evil. No. Not only that. As Taoran crouched down and backed away, she saw the doll flying out of the coffin and rushing towards her. Oh my God. Taoran also saw the doll's delicate face transform into a wrinkled, dry-skinned face in the blink of an eye, and then switch between the two faces. And that dry face was similar to the mummy Taoran saw in the museum many years ago. So this doll. Could he be possessed? Is an evil spirit possessing the doll? How could she look directly at the doll in the future? Why are you rummaging through my house? What do you want? The doll bumped towards Taoran Fei. Taoran didn't know why, so he raised his sword and struck it. It didn't hurt it, but it flew directly onto the coffin board. The doll became even more angry. It raised its hands, roared as it did, and murmured something. Just as Taorang thought it was cute and funny, he heard the tinkling sound. When the screen opens, there is a system prompt. This level of game has a lot of freedom. Players are asked to be careful in their words and actions and explore on their own. That's it? It's like nothing was said. The next second, Taoran found that he was frozen and unable to move. No matter how hard I try, it's useless. It's over. The doll flew again. Explain to me honestly. What are you here for? What were you doing just now? Why did you hit me? The doll wasn't even the slightest bit cute, but now it had its red mouth wide open, looking like a monster. Taoran, on the other hand, smelled sourness and decay on its body. And Taoran's whole body felt lightheaded. All kinds of horrific scenes flashed before his eyes, either of people being imprisoned and asking for help, or of people being disemboweled, or of corpses littering the fields. She could only have one inference: is this the evil spirit? The doll bumped into Taoran. He was obviously just a doll, but Taoran was in pain from being beaten. Her ribs were sore and throbbing, and she didn't know whether they were cracked or an illusion. After that, the doll sat directly on Chaoran's shoulder and leaned its mouth against Chaoran, looking like it was drooling for her. That familiar feeling came up. Just like when Elizabeth had her throat stuck. What is this thing, do I need to say? Be honest and I may be able to spare your life. Otherwise, I will make you disappear immediately. Chaoran smiled at her subconsciously. She had suffered a lot when dealing with this kind of thing and knew not to be tough. The doll has already immobilized her, and it's obvious that her skills are extraordinary. Moreover, you can't say that you came to seal it, right? In addition, there are no NPCs in this level, so this doll must be the key person. If you want to continue the mission, you must dig deeper into the doll. If she wants to get more information, she definitely can't just turn against her. Perhaps this is the reason why the system sent a message specifically to remind you to be cautious in your words and deeds. So Chaoran's smile became deeper. I have no ill intentions towards you. I'm here to save you. Chaoran directly regarded the doll as an NPC to gain favor. I don't need anyone to save me. No, I made a mistake. I'm here to help you, Chaoran said seriously. I didn't hit you, I just pushed you away. If I wanted to kill you, I would have used the edge of my sword, right? And the reason why I came here was because I heard the cry, so I followed you. The cry before, is it all from you? Are you having any difficulties? Is there anything I can help you with? Hearing this, the doll stuck its head out. Then Chaoran saw that it had stretched its neck to a full 30 centimeters, turned in a semicircle from her shoulder, stood in front of her, and looked at her. Chaoran smiled again, his eyes shining with sincerity. The doll didn't see her hostility. Then why do you keep picking at my house? What are you looking for in there? I'm not looking for anything, I just didn't know you could speak, so I wanted to see if I could find out why you kept crying. I picked up your spices because I was afraid they would hurt you. I looked through your coffin lid. No, look at the ceiling of your house, I'm afraid something might hit you. Then did you find the reason why I cried? Maybe. Then tell me. If what you say is right, I will let you go. If what you say makes sense, we will play a game. If what you say is wrong, hee. The doll tilted its head, it fell to the ground. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 939. Chaoran finally understood. That is to say, as long as she deduces the reason why the baby is crying, it will be considered a success. If she's half right, she has to play a game with the doll. If you are totally irrelevant or if you dissatisfy your child, will you be eliminated directly? That's pretty much what it means, right? Hee. Look at that ugly thing. Now it is deliberately playing with its head. Now it throws it into the air, now it hits her, now it deliberately puts its head upside down, and now it crawls on Chaoran's face and stomps on it with its foot. Chaoran's face. Chaoran didn't want to play games with this monster. She even didn't want to see the doll again in her life. If she hadn't still been unable to move, she would have wanted to tear this thing on her head to pieces. She thought about it in her mind and organized her words. Have you experienced a tomb robbery? This is the most likely reason according to Chaoran's inference. Your coffin, your home is very big, enough for 2 fat people to sleep in. I guess there were other things inside, such as funerary objects and the like. But someone got interested in the funerary objects and came and stole them. So, now you only have some spices left in your house? Your home is so luxurious, how could it not be sealed? Still have many scratches? So I guess your home was forcibly opened later? I found that in the outer coffin of your home. No, There are unreasonable depressions in several places on the relief surface of the outer wall, such as the eyes of mythical beasts. I guess there should have been inlaid gems there? In addition, those who robbed the tomb must have had a guilty conscience and were in a hurry when they left, so they installed the beginning and end of the exterior wall of your house backwards. Taoran had just discovered that the reason why the patterns on the coffin lid and the coffin body didn't match up was because the slightly skewed head and tail were covered backwards. No matter how careless the person who buried him was, he couldn't have made such a mistake. So only people who have no respect for the deceased, who have opened the coffin and come and go in a hurry, can leave such a loophole. It's precisely because you hate those tomb robbers that you feel resentful and angry when you see me raiding your house, right? This time the doll was suspended directly in front of Taoran. It's interesting. But you still didn't tell me, why am I so sad? I guess it's probably because they took away your body. Hee hee, the dry skin appeared on the baby's face again. How could anyone want to take away a corpse? You guessed it wrong. It is true that few people want ordinary corpses, but if it is a well-preserved mummy, it is different. The doll suddenly became serious, teleported its face again, opened its mouth and bared its teeth at Taoran. It was so ugly. Taoran ignored her and continued, the value of a mummy is much more valuable than ordinary funerary objects. If it is well preserved, it is likely to be priceless. So they took your body away. How did you guess the mummy? Because I got a piece of white linen fabric on the roof of your house. I guess it was the cloth that wrapped you. Maybe they accidentally hooked it on the roof of your house when they moved you out of the house, or maybe they burned part of the package. Your fabric was not burned completely, leaving only a little bit. That's why there is so much black ash in the coffin. Taoran put himself in the role of a tomb robber and figured out the logic. After discovering the mummy, the tomb robbers will definitely want to determine whether the thing is well preserved and whether it is valuable enough for them to waste time and effort to find a way to move it out. After all, it would be difficult to get in and out. If they wanted to steal the mummy, they would have to give up a lot of other things. So they must open it and check it out. They must have opened at least part of the mummy, and then, for some unknown reason, burned that part of the cloth that wrapped the mummy. Looking at the doll's expression, Taoran felt that he should have guessed pretty well. Your body was taken away, but you stayed. Right. If you say so, why don't I just follow my real body? The rag doll's head turned into a ferocious wrinkled face again, and then it kept slapping the doll's body and tore off both of its legs. Coming down, there are countless weird things. Maybe, it's because you can't leave, Taoran continued to express his suspicion. There are very special patterns and symbols inside and outside the coffin. Although I can't understand them, I feel a little depressed. This is an instinct. It is an instinct that comes from contact with experienced Taoists in the world of immortality and the real world. Needless to say, the world of cultivating immortals, but the group of Taoist priests in the real world really opened her eyes. Although she almost never speaks in the group, she will read the content in the group whenever she has time. Especially various talismans, she printed them out to try out the effects. It's not that she is studious, but she feels that these things may one day be used against Elizabeth. She also used the talismans she drew to exchange books with the old Taoists. This is really shameful. I have the book in my hand, but I haven't had time to study it. So when she saw these patterns and symbols today, she sensed a sense of restraint and restriction. Although the worlds are different and the rules of Taoism and law are different, the thousands of worlds remain unchanged and have the same purpose. Especially after discovering these patterns and symbols on the outer coffin and the lid, she felt that this space should have been originally used to imprison evil spirits. So I guess your soul is imprisoned in this space and you can't leave. So this also leads to your soul and body being separated. You have nowhere to go but the doll. You are sad and in pain, so you cry with the doll. Did you guess it right? Guess it? After saying this, there was a ringing sound in Chaoran's ears again. But her body still couldn't move. "Can you let me go first?" Chaoran's eyes flashed convincingly again. "If you need anything, you can tell me directly." "Are you really willing to help me?" Wawa tilted his head and looked at Chaoran again. "Yes." "See, you are quite serious." "Okay. I can give you a chance." The next second after the baby finished speaking, Chaoran's body became able to move again. The body that was still in pain until just now suddenly returned to normal, as if the previous pain was all an illusion. "This guy is no worse than Elizabeth." Chaoran quickly clicked on the screen. A message: "Congratulations to the player for initially gaining the trust of the doll. Players are requested to keep up their efforts, explore the content of the mission, and strive for a higher level in the morning." What? What does it mean to strive for one floor in the morning? In other words, does she still have a long way to go before the end of this mission? "Doll, since you are willing to help me, please sit down." Chaoran looked around and found no suitable place to sit. Just as she was about to sit down on the floor, the doll on her shoulder screamed again, startling her. "I asked you to sit down, how could you sit in front of someone else's house? Are you polite? I treat you as half a friend, but why don't you go sit at my house?" "Nanny." Chaoran was speechless. Go sit at his house? The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 940. Who would want to sit in a coffin? Moreover, it was a coffin that had existed for who knows how many years, was covered with strange runes, and had a mummy lying on it for hundreds of thousands of years. It was an extremely strange and gloomy coffin. Of course Chaoran refused. It only took her smart mind a second to think of the words to refuse. "Farewell. You've been lying in your house for so many years. Don't you feel bored? It's good for us to talk outside, ah." Before Chaoran could finish his words, he was thrown out like a piece of rag. Why are these half-dead things so violent? Although Chaoran was already able to move, it was only at this moment that she realized that she could not use her internal strength or bonuses. She can only use 10% of her strength at most. So she had no right to struggle at all. The first time she flew out, she hit the coffin lid hard again. How else can we say that this evil spirit is powerful? The angle it chose to let Chaoran fall was also very particular. When Chaoran hit it, the huge force actually pushed the coffin lid that was originally horizontal at 90 degrees and flew out. As a result, Chaoran also fell to the ground along with the coffin lid. The coffin lid has completely separated from the coffin body, so the other house is too spacious. Chaoran felt severe pain again, but she had no time to express her attitude or get up. She was lifted up again and thrown out. The doll's voice still lingers in my ears. "You said you wanted to help me. You can't even understand my pain. Don't you want to understand how I got here all these years? I'm polite to ask you to sit down, but you're still picky. How dare you make excuses? I asked you to sit in, and I didn't say I would sit in too. Why are you so worried about helping me? To put it bluntly, you don't like me, so you dislike my family, right?" Chaoran just kept going up and down right above the coffin. She could only beg for mercy. After she had some words, the strength in her body disappeared, and then she fell into the coffin. Chaoran suddenly felt a certain sense of oppression. Not only from the soul, but also from the body. She felt like vomiting. Thinking about it, this is the effect of those pattern symbols. You know how uncomfortable it is, right? The doll was suspended in the air and began to cry. "I'm just locked up here by them. They don't know what means they use to oppress me and make me miserable every day. You know? Those bad people trapped me in this special space. I'm just a child." "Ah. Child, it's actually a child. Based on the dry skin that repeatedly moved back and forth on the doll's face, Taoran couldn't tell its age or appearance, and could only barely determine its gender as female. Nonsense. Idiot. Otherwise, would I have a doll in my house? This is the doll that tricked me into it. Woohoo. I love and hate it at the same time. As it said, it cut off the doll in disgust. Legs, and then assembled them again. You're crazy. Taoran cursed. But before she finished complaining, her mouth hurt. It was the doll that slapped me. I'm just saying you're rude, right? Since you're here to help me, don't interrupt. I almost forgot what I wanted to say. I didn't finish what I said before. What made me more uncomfortable than being imprisoned was that the thieves took away my body. I was sleeping when they came. I had just woken up when they moved my body. When they left, I still had a little strength. No, not only can I not catch him, but unfortunately I can't get out. So I watched helplessly as they took my body. I am so sad. What a pain. It was only when Taoran sat in the coffin that he noticed that there were many runes in the inner coffin, and they were drawn with some kind of blood, making their effects many times stronger. Taoran would still feel uncomfortable if these runes were not directed at her, let alone the evil spirit. Are you so angry because of your body? When they lied to me, they told me that they would let me out as long as I stayed here for 500 years. So I was made into a mummy. You know, mummies can be reborn. So even if they told a lot of lies, I also waited here quietly. But when it was 3 days before the 500th anniversary, a group of people came. They took away my body. The doll beat its hands and stamped its feet, and cried loudly. But if I don't have a body, I can't be reborn. Then wouldn't I be locked up here forever? Woo, and, those people don't cherish my body too much. They broke my body on the way out. I could feel that my body was divided into 6 parts and left everywhere. For example, my head was hit by them against a wall and fell off. My body is 500 years old, how fragile it is. They don't cherish it so much. Do you think I'm angry? Do you think I am in pain? I felt that some parts of my body were hot, some were cold, and some were soaked in deep water. They all hurt and they all wanted to come back. So I cried. Not only because I am in pain, but also because I am looking for humans and reminding humans. If I don't get my body back, it will be completely destroyed. When I become an evil spirit, no one will be able to live. Even if I sleep for a long time, I will use all my power to curse mankind. Let the living beings be devastated and corpses litter the fields. As he finished saying this, Taoran heard the jingle again. The system message has arrived again. The doll also told Taoran directly, if you really want to help me, go get my body back. The doll's face was almost completely pressed against Taoran's, making her unable to click on the screen immediately. There are many dangers here. If you are not careful, you will die. Do you dare to go? Dare. Just let me go and I'll find it for you. It still doesn't work. How can you move my body by yourself? I can move it. Are you sure you can still handle the crisis after carrying 6 body parts? Uncertain. I'm not worried. I'm afraid my body will be broken into 12 pieces or more. The doll looked Taoran up and down with a look of disdain. My body can't do anything else. So you'd better stay here with me first, and wait until we have enough people together. Taoran was very reluctant. It had only been a few minutes, but she had already felt nauseated several times, and the mental pressure was very strong. She didn't want to stay in this damn place for a second longer. How many people are enough? At least 6 people. So many. My body is divided into 6 pieces. Each of you needs to move 1 piece, at least 6 people are needed. Woohoo, when can we get enough for 6 people? The baby was sad again, turned around and cried. Taoran then clicked on the message. Congratulations to the players for successfully harvesting the plot. Please wait patiently for the players to form a team. The next level of challenge requires gathering 6 people to form a 6-person team to start. Once the number of people is full, you can start. In addition to this big word, the message also has several lines of small words. Before Taoran could take a closer look, the doll slapped its face up again. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 941. The doll suddenly came up to Taoran again, changing from the crying look just now to smiling. I've been lonely for hundreds of years, and finally I have someone to accompany me. Otherwise, why don't you play games with me? Taoran, ha, ugly. Then shall I give you a blessing? Give you a gift? Let's play together, the doll grinned. Taoran was stunned and immediately shook his head. If this were an NPC, she would definitely accept it without hesitation. But this is an evil spirit, and her mission is to seal it. Now that she has accepted its blessing, what if she or the system later settles the score? So, don't. Taoran, you said it yourself. If I guess the reason why you're crying, you can let me go. I don't have to play games with you. The doll stopped laughing and his face turned ferocious. If you don't drink a toast, you'll get a fine drink. What I'm saying is that if you guess only part of it correctly, you have to play games with me. You're smart. The doll stood on the coffin. Do you think your reasoning is correct? It snorted. Let me tell you, you guessed a lot wrong. For example, what those people stole were not funerary objects. They were various magical weapons that sealed me. What they picked out from the patterns were not jewelry, but purify my aura crystal. The spices scattered in the coffin were also taken out of my mummy in order to make it easier to get them because they found it too heavy. As for the black ash, they saw various sacrificial patterns on the linen wrapping me. I was scared, so I burned it directly. But I roughly guessed it right, didn't I? If you are so fussy about details, how could you possibly guess it 100% right? Sorry, I have the final say here. I said you have to play games with me, so you have to play games. As it spoke, its teeth suddenly grew longer and pressed against Taoran's neck. Here we go again. Here we go again. The same routine as that witch Elizabeth. There will be no benefit if you follow it, but if you go against it, you will definitely be in trouble. Taoran gritted his teeth. You are so powerful, why don't you find your own body? Why do you threaten me at every turn? If I could get out of this space, I would control what you do. This entire space was created for me. Even if those thieves destroyed some of the restrictions, this place is still like a cage and I can't get out. This guy started crying again as he spoke. I treat you as a semi-friend and think about you, but what about you? Why don't you have any compassion at all? You don't want to help me at all. Are you thinking about me? And half a friend? Taoran was also surprised that not long after she came in, the doll said that he regarded her as half a friend. For example, would Elizabeth consider her a friend? I am just a part-time worker, just doing what I need. Yes, I think about you, so I invite you to sit at my house, right? Just this crappy place? Do you think my sister is rare? Don't look down on my family. Although the crystal on it has been dug out, the restraining talisman is still there. You feel uncomfortable because your soul is under great pressure. Who said you and I have the same physique? What? Wawa's last words made Taoran's heart skip a beat. I said, as soon as I saw you, I noticed the entanglement of gold and black in your soul. I felt that we were the same poor people. That's why I kept saying that I treat you as half a friend. I thought you would understand me, so I also invite you to sit in my house. Since you feel the oppression of the soul, it means that those restrictions are also useful to you. Taoran became serious. Feeling the soul carefully again, there is indeed a strong pressure that is very obvious. If what the doll said is true, then it goes without saying that the black color in his soul is the restraint given by Elizabeth, right? Could this coffin be useful to me? I'll play games with you anyway. It was just to kill time waiting for her teammates, so she was willing to give it a try. Then what are we going to play? The doll became excited. Hide and seek. You hide and I'll come find you. Okay. Then close your eyes first. Count to 30 and come to me. The doll floats away. After Taoran crossed his legs and assumed a meditation posture, he immediately clicked on the system screen and began to read the few rows of small characters that he had not finished reading before. It turns out that this is a series of story background introductions. In the XX country in XX, the church pastors calculated that angels and demons had descended on the city together. After some searching, they found the girl. In her body, the two auras of good and evil merged, causing everyone close to her to die suddenly. At that time, the country happened to be in a tense situation with its neighboring countries and could go to war at any time. Coupled with natural disasters, the people were in dire straits. The whole country was in turmoil and people's hearts were unstable. Some people have received instructions from heaven that as long as they cleanse the country of the evil spirit, they will be blessed by angels. So this half-demon girl became a target. As long as her demon body is destroyed, the angel will protect their country and people's peace. On the contrary, when the devil enters the world, it will trigger the demonic energy to devour the world and push the world into purgatory. Those people used the baby doll left by the girl's mother to successfully brainwash and convince the girl to sacrifice herself for the country and the people, get rid of the evil spirit, and bless the entire city and country with the light of angels. Those people promised her that as long as she completed her mission, they would help her to be reborn. Therefore, there are various forbidden runes inside and outside the coffin, which are to help her suppress and purify the evil spirit. But just when everything was about to be completed and the evil spirit was about to be completely eliminated, a group of tomb robbers opened the coffin in advance and stole the girl's body. This not only made all the efforts in vain and failed to cleanse the demonic energy, but also caused the last trace of demonic energy in the girl's soul to completely explode. Anxiety, confusion, anger, injustice, coupled with the pain of body and soul, amplified the demonic energy. The girl was furious, and the demonic energy started to occupy her soul like a spark of fire starting a prairie fire. The thieves who stole the sacrificial crystals and other artifacts that suppressed and contained demonic energy did not successfully leave the underground palace. Because after the demonic energy was no longer suppressed, it directly backfired on them and grew stronger, using their lives as nourishment. Soon, the demonic energy dispersed throughout the underground palace. Part of the demonic energy returned to the girl again and was used by the doll possessed by the girl. Whether to be an angel or a devil, it only depends on the girl's thoughts. Now, the girl's body has been left in 6 places in the underground palace. What the player needs to do is to retrieve them within a limited time for the sake of innocent people, and prevent the girl from further absorbing the evil spirit out of hatred and evolving into a real evil spirit. Taoran quickly read these words. It seems that I was still wrong. This evil spirit is still different from Elizabeth. The girl is kind in nature and wants to save all people. Most people cannot make up their mind to sacrifice 500 years of their pain and freedom. In this regard, this girl is hundreds of times better than the selfish Elizabeth. I didn't expect that as the tower went higher, the tasks became bigger and bigger, and they were all about saving the world. She couldn't help but wonder, when she got to the top, where would the pattern be? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 942. In this way, Tao Ranran played hide and seek with the doll in the coffin. Every time, she could quickly locate the doll's location. It's not that she's mentally strong and capable. Instead, there was the scent of a doll in the coffin. She was inside it, and unexpectedly her five senses became particularly sensitive. After learning that the coffin had a purifying effect, her mental state was different. It seemed that the pressure in her soul and body had become smaller. Completely different from a quarter of an hour ago, Tao Ran planned not to leave the coffin unless necessary. She needs to experience whether she will be different. What if there is an unexpected surprise? In this way, she spared some of her mental energy to play games with the doll, and focused her main energy on meditation. The cheerful voice of the doll girl who had been lonely for too long began to echo in the space, and it was difficult for Tao Ran not to feel a little sympathy for her. After all, he is just a child. So during the hide and seek process, she deliberately pointed in the wrong direction several times to let the doll win. After a while, the doll sat back on the coffin. "Are you really going to help me?" "Yes. I will definitely help you get your body back. Then you can be my friend." Okay. Tao Ran opened his eyes. "Then, can I ask you a question?" In my soul, do you see one black streak, or two black streaks?" The doll opened its eyes wide, jumped on Tao Ran, and then stared at Tao Ran for a long time. "One. Sure. Very sure." Tao Ran clenched his fists. Sure enough, it was the same as what old man Chang Feng said that day. Logically speaking, there was a curse on her body, and Elizabeth placed another curse on her in order to take advantage of her. There should be two black curses on her soul. There is only one explanation, indicating that both times are the same person, the same method, and even the prohibition is causally related. The source of everything still lies in Elizabeth. Doll, although this black one is much thinner than your other golden one, it is really long. It seems to have been there for too long. Too long? Sure enough, sure enough. It all started with a curse. Elizabeth is the real enemy of her and her ancestors. Her goal is not only to lift the curse, but also to completely destroy the witch. Tao Ran didn't know if this coffin had any other benefits, but she discovered after a while that it was very effective in training the soul. In order to resist the oppressive feeling, her spirit has been practicing the Chang Feng cult soul nurturing technique over and over again. Under high pressure, the soul seems to become much tougher. The benefits are self-evident. Taking this opportunity, she was also practicing the spiritual power taught by Tang Yu intensively in two ways, using one mind at a time. Such an efficient method will definitely be of great use in the future. The two of them played like this for more than half a day. Tao Ran finally felt more comfortable. Wawa said categorically, "The black color in your soul has become lighter. Although it's not obvious, I can see it." In this way, Tao Ran's original depression because no other missionaries had arrived for a long time became much lighter. A group of 6 people. And Tao Ran was the first person to wait for this level to be opened. This means that the person who is faster than her in this tower attack game must be a multiple of 6. Based on the predictions from previous levels, Tao Ran felt that his current speed should be 7th. Originally, she was quite anxious. But now, she decided to seize this opportunity to suppress and dispel the demonic energy. The less the soul is restrained, the better the way to deal with Elizabeth, the more. Another time passed and they were playing a new game when the doll suddenly felt something. Wooden man game. It was the doll's request. Tao Ran is a wooden man and cannot make a sound. And the doll will stimulate her in various ways. If she survives 10 minutes, the doll will tell her the exact location of the 6 body parts. If she can't succeed, then even if she successfully forms a team, she will have to stay here with the doll for half an hour longer. As a result, a scene emerged that tested Chaoran's normality, patience, and courage. Sometimes the guy transformed into a monster and made strange sounds to scare her, sometimes he created various scenes, sometimes he pulled out his tongue and intestines and made all sorts of disgusting things, and sometimes he climbed onto Chaoran's head to play pranks. In order to divert attention, Chaoran simply activated the 3 punishment dials she had left from the previous level. The luck was unexpectedly good. On the first move, she switched to the best option in the roulette wheel, with the penalty of only losing points. She was deducted 1500 points. She took a deep breath, so now she only had a few hundred points left and became a real pauper. On the second turn, she drew a random unnatural punishment. Compared with other punishments, this is already very mild. Fine. In the third round, he was sent to a small black room in the detention area for 3 hours. Well, it's not too bad, she can handle it. The second penalty will be systematically arranged at the appropriate time, and the first and third penalty will be executed immediately. Just like that, when the doll said it heard the noise and shouted a new person is coming, when it floated out, Chaoran also disappeared directly. The scene changed and she was already in the dark room. In the pitch black space, there was only a ray of light overhead. Chaoran felt a little regretful. I wonder who the newcomer was. Didn't see it. If nothing else happens, it should be someone on the 5-win PK level. Chaoran didn't want to waste a minute. Even if she was imprisoned, she couldn't stop working hard. Thinking that she would have to go back and sit in the coffin for a long time later, she planned to practice martial arts. So in the next 3 hours, she practiced everything from Qinggong, strength to fighting to swordsmanship. Apart from drinking water, she hardly stopped during the whole process. When the assistant informed her that there was only 1 minute left in the countdown, she sheathed her sword, and then she saw that her points had magically increased by nearly 1,000 in 3 hours. It seems that no matter which world you are in, people who work hard are respected. As soon as the countdown seconds reached 0, she slipped directly back into the coffin. She really wanted to see who was the first to reach this level. Upon seeing it, Chaoran was still surprised. It turned out to be the Xiao Wang who was defeated by him in the single-player duel at level 65 and then fell straight to the first level. He is indeed a strong enemy. Chaoran was a little sour. He caught up so quickly. The 64th floor requires 5 wins, while the 66th floor starts with almost all using brains. Chaoran pretends to have a stomachache on the 66th floor. She used her pass card on the 68th floor. And on the 71st floor, she relied on loopholes in the rules to get through. I really have good taste. This little Wang is capable of both literary and military skills and has good qualities in all 3 aspects. He is indeed a worthy teammate to work with. At this moment, Xiao Wang probably only inferred part of the doll's story background, so he was forced to play the game. Fantastic. Chaoran could see Xiao Wang, but Xiao Wang who was in the same space couldn't see her. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 943. Chaoran had just started meditating when Xiao Wang was thrown over by the doll in disgust. Can't you dislike it? When Chaoran interacted with this guy before, he felt that he was very dull and playing games with him would be boring. It's strange that the doll would like it. The guy was kicked left and right by the doll but didn't react at all. The doll was defeated by his boredom and finally threw him towards the coffin and said with his hands on his hips, "You are not as fun as my friend, I won't play with you anymore." Chaoran, who was meditating, sensed a crisis and subconsciously punched out. Xiao Wang, who was abandoned by the doll, received a system message and his attention was distracted. When he suddenly noticed a shadow passing in front of him, he vaguely saw someone standing up in the coffin that was empty just a moment ago. He was startled, and then he was directly caught. Chaoran's shot flew away. The doll laughed. It opened its arms to indicate to Chaoran whether he wanted to use this new guy as a punching bag and play a slapping game. Only then did Xiao Wang recognize that the person in the coffin was an acquaintance of his, and he also laughed. He is very satisfied with his first teammate. Just as Wawa was about to persuade him to continue the game, someone else entered the corridor. The baby's attention was diverted, and Chaoran started talking to Xiao Wang. I return the favor to you. Chaoran felt happy as soon as Xiao Wang said this. The first news he brought was about number 266. Xiao Wang went down one level, and when he returned to the 64th floor, what he saw was a group of people talking around a new player who had just arrived on that floor. The player was persuaded by number 266 and wanted to challenge him, but was stopped by several other players. Then he learned that as long as he didn't choose number 266, he could get a reward. And after hearing that the person who suppressed number 266 was number 444, he gave up number 266 without hesitation. Even though number 266 had a lotus tongue and promised to give him many things, this person did not nod. Then everyone discovered Xiao Wang. They were very surprised. Didn't you win 5 out of 5 games on this floor before? Why are you back again? I can't beat no 444. Xiao Wang glanced at number 266. Thrown down by her. As soon as these words came out, the newcomer moved further away from number 266. And everyone began to ask about the content of Xiao Wang's next level. A few minutes later, number 266 found Xiao Wang and gave him 3 pieces of chocolate. Xiao Wang was surprised. Didn't all your things be taken away by no 444? Number 266 laughed. I was injured by her. Isn't this cured? Who can't spare a hand when playing this kind of game? Can you tell me how you did it? Although Xiao Wang didn't like to express, his mind was clear. Then you also give me some information on the next level in exchange. Can. So number 266 told Xiao Wang that although he no longer had a backpack, he had a lot of points. After his assistant reached level 8, he exchanged points for hidden backpack slots. One grid can hold 5 kilograms of items. So he is not completely destitute. After inquiring about the details of the next level, number 266 started to ask number 444. Xiao Wang, she said she would wait for you on the 65th floor. Number 444 clenched his fists. He couldn't beat Chaoran, so he couldn't go to the next level even if he had a pass card. And Xiao Wang also understood. If number 266 values the next level so much, he must have a pass card in his hand. After I determined that he should have a pass card, I followed your instructions. Xiao Wang looked at Chaoran with a smile on his face. There is no doubt about his strength. He reopened the challenge on the 64th floor. Once again, he won 5 out of 5. When he left the platform, he turned around and took a look, and saw number 266 also standing up. He vaguely heard number 266 pointing at the players who had been bought by Chaoran and telling them, "We'll see." I was more sure that he had a pass card in his hand. But he would not use it until I reached the 65th floor and started PK with you. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, my guess was confirmed. The first thing to do when number 266 arrives on the 65th floor is to observe. Waiting to compete with him under the light of the space is a man. Not the woman. Number 444, number 266 is happy. But his joy only lasted until the man turned around and showed his face. Number 266 didn't expect that it would be this man. He immediately realized something was wrong. Didn't you say that number 444 is waiting here? Then this man should now have a showdown with 444. How could he confront himself? So this man lied to himself. Picture what? Number 266 soon understood what he was trying to figure out. As he expected, this man was far stronger than him. Although he has a speed bonus, this man's reflexes are too fast. Soon, number 266 was beaten. And the way this man treated him was on par with number 444. It was all kinds of humiliating torture for him. Are you the same as no 444? Why should I answer you? No 260's face was trampled into a pig's head. He wanted to yell, but it suddenly occurred to him that the winner of this level could decide the fate of the loser. He could only be humble and beg. Xiao Wang is more afraid of trouble than Tao Ran. He directly solved number 266 in 1 minute. Then, I helped you vent your anger, and I lowered him to 5 levels directly. Tao Ran burst out laughing. Very good. With the current position of number 266, the bad reputation and the difficulties ahead, even if his assistant is still the most senior, it will be difficult for him to reach the forefront again. Tao Ran thought for a while, and simply sent a message to the world in the name of Ran Ran, number 266, the highest level assistant, who stole many people's supplies, is now at level 60 or 61. Be careful, he just took a huge reward. After receiving the news, Xiao Wang also raised his eyebrows and gave a thumbs up. It was too damaging. In this way, all players know that it is this number 266 that caused the large-scale elimination not long ago due to the low level of the assistant. This is enough to make him a target for everyone. If he levels up again, a large number of players will be eliminated. Therefore, this person will probably not be let go by anyone who encounters him. Not to mention he has many enemies. Those who were robbed should also clearly define the targets of their revenge. Coupled with the rumors of huge rewards, it is enough to make everyone who passes by pluck their feathers and fire a shot. I want to see how many supplies he still has in his hidden package column. Look, how fast he can go on his way up. No matter how many points he has, it will all be in vain. And a minute later, someone actually replied in the world message column, "Hello Princess." The person who answered remained anonymous. But those who could answer like this were naturally Tao Ran's former partners. Tao Ran calculated everyone's progress and guessed that the person who replied to her was either Zhou Chang or Hu Hu. At this time, Tao Ran's new teammate finally showed up. It was Lele, who was slightly stronger in level 64 and was very good at reading, and Tao Ran was merciful to him. Tao Ran and Xiao Wang could clearly see all his actions, just like watching a projection. This guy has almost no reasoning ability, but he is very good at causing trouble. The doll seemed to like him very much. Even though he didn't even answer grave robbery, he still gave him a chance to play the game. Then a string of joyful laughter sounded in the space. Tao Ran continued to practice her mental strength, and Xiao Wang also imitated her and began to meditate. Just by the coffin. Xiao Wang never figured out why someone would like to stay in a coffin so much. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 944. For the next whole day, no one else arrived. And this Lele is a father. When I saw the doll, I probably thought of my daughter who had leukemia, so after reading the background story, I had a particularly different feeling towards the doll. He spent almost the rest of the time playing with the doll. Wawa knew that Tao Ran was purifying her soul, so she didn't bother her and took Lele away. For this reason, Tao Ran was very grateful. The two had a great time, making so much noise that Xiao Wang could only stare. Tao Ran, on the other hand, regarded this as a test during his cultivation, forcing himself to continue to multitask in a noisy environment. While practicing the soul, develop the internal strength at the same time. After staying in this coffin for a long time, the previous pressure gradually disappeared. During this period, Taoran went out to stretch his muscles twice and played with the doll twice. She found that her mental strength had indeed become stronger. She could even hear Lele's stomach growling clearly. It was so boring that the three players even had a dinner together. Then the doll cried again. She hadn't eaten in so long that she forgot what food tasted like. The three of them put away the food silently, but what they were thinking in their hearts was that they would need to seal this girl again later. How could they bear it? In addition, Taoran also walked through the current space several times, memorizing all the various patterns and symbols used for sealing, suppressing, and purifying, up and down, inside and outside, front and back. The background of this level is ancient Europe, and Elizabeth should also be from this period. So the rune patterns that are effective against evil spirits may also be effective against Elizabeth. After all, although this game is often outrageous, it is quite sophisticated in its background and setting. For example, Kong Mingsuo respected culture very much. Taoran is not sure whether the runes used in her country and world can be effective against vampires, so now that she has the opportunity to learn other methods, she will not let it go. Another day passed, and she finally remembered all 14 runes clearly and deeply in her mind. At this time, someone finally came. Before the person appeared, he started screaming again and again, dropped, hit the coffin board hard, and even ran away. At first glance, it was also the Zonga whom we had fought with on the 54th floor. Although he is not young, he is the least courageous. All the muscles are in vain. The three of them secretly lamented, how on earth did this guy get through that terrifying level before? The baby was crying in the coffin, which was obviously a hint for him to open the coffin, but he just sat down from a distance. Then a quarter of an hour, 2/4 of an hour passed, and he remained motionless. The baby got tired of crying and started punching and kicking the coffin lid again. But Brother Zhong buried his head between his knees like an ostrich. The doll couldn't bear it anymore and opened the coffin lid by himself. But even so, this guy still can't come over. The doll made various noises again. But the weirder and scarier the sound was, the more the guy shivered and didn't dare to take any further action. Another quarter of an hour passed. The one who can't bear it is the doll. It could only fly up on its own and came to Brother Zhong. Then he stepped on his head directly. What follows is a scene of the macho man crying. Brother Zhong was trembling and crying for mercy. Wawa is anxious to play games with Lele and doesn't want to quarrel with him at all, so he can only push forward on his own. As a result, Brother Zhong was grabbed and smashed several times by it, and was forced to look at him again. Brother Zhong, who received the system message, didn't even dare to touch the coffin, so naturally he couldn't deduce the reason. Then everyone watched helplessly as Brother Zhong failed his mission and disappeared. Was eliminated. There is still no fourth teammate. But the three of them have no regrets. After all, what follows in this level is either terrifying or adventurous, and timid people can easily hold back the team. Soon, another person came. None of Taoran or the other three had seen him. So they guessed that this person was probably stuck on a puzzle on the 60th floor. As expected, this guy is indeed not smart. He was bold, but he looked around and made some inferences. He didn't think of tomb robberies or mummies. Instead, he mentioned the word evil spirit many times. Why? Obviously, the system has reminded you to be careful in your words and actions, but if you are so reckless, there is only one way left. He pissed off the doll directly. I have made such a huge sacrifice for you so-called people, and you are ungrateful. But I haven't done anything yet, so you call me an evil spirit. So, this one was eliminated again. Taoran continued her meditation. Almost an hour later, another person came. Brother Zhong left, but here came Ace Hong, whom he hadn't seen for many years and had cooperated with Taoran twice. This is a master of Wurong Taoism, and in Taoran's heart he is a smart person. Sure enough, he successfully started the game stage with the baby, and eventually became the fourth person in the team. When he saw Tao Ran, he finally changed his hostility from the last time they met, took the initiative to nod as a sign of goodwill, and thanked Tao Ran for helping him the last time they partnered in the Leaning Sudoku Tower. "It's just a debt repayment. You and I are cleared." Tao Ran continued her practice. She didn't stop until her fifth teammate showed up. Zhou Chang, whom she had been waiting for, finally appeared. Tao Ran couldn't help but tell the baby not to be too strict. The doll spun around in mid-air, spitting out and extending its tongue, creating a streamer effect on her doll skirt. "If you obstruct the fairness of the rules, you will be struck by lightning. But since I am your friend, I will try my best to scare you." After the guy finished speaking, he went out with a bloodshot look on his face. Zhou Chang was entertained, and Wawa especially took care of him, allowing him to encounter various situations that made him cry and howl as soon as he entered the corridor. When Zhou Chang fell into the space where they were, the vicissitudes and tatters were visible to the naked eye. He lay on the coffin for a while before getting up. He basically figured it out and played the game with the doll for another half an hour before the doll let him go. Suddenly 4 people appeared out of thin air, and Zhou Chang almost knelt down in fear. Fortunately, after seeing Tao, his depression and fatigue disappeared instantly. "Sister, I finally caught up with you. I've been waiting for this test for 3 days. If the coffin hadn't been beneficial to her, she wouldn't know how anxious she would be now. Zhong has arrived, why are you so slow?" When Tao Ran and Zhou Chang left the Sudoku level before, they were faster than Zhong. "Isn't using your brain your strong point? Logically speaking, you shouldn't be too far behind me." Zhou Chang sat down and said, "It's my problem. I didn't do the horror levels very well. Do you remember that in one level, the female ghost's eyeballs fell off? At that time, I was frightened and made a fool of myself. I just knocked out her eyes, it was crushed. Then when she got angry, she threw it out. Then I had a problem with those few levels. I kept stumbling and it took a bit long. When you sent a message suggesting that you should deal with number 266, I had already passed those 2 levels, so I didn't encounter him. But it doesn't matter. Tiger and I chatted privately. He will deal with that guy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 945. Tao Ran was wrong. She thought she would feel more relaxed when Zhou Chang came. But as soon as he came, he asked a question that he had forgotten but had to explain. "Captain, I have a girlfriend," Zhou Chang said cautiously. Although she disappeared, I still did not let her go. It is undeniable that we have been through life and death together and have experienced a lot. You are indeed excellent, but... Bala, Tao Ran didn't expect that she, who was loved by thousands of people in her world, would be dealt the good guy card. In the final analysis, it was all caused by 312 and those bad friends. It's nothing. You're just being pretentious. Tao Ran was tired of this, but he had to explain the origin of 312. I heard that you were still trapped in that level, and I kindly reminded you. You were struck by lightning because of this. But Zhou Chang showed a more guilty expression. Tao Ran was tired. I don't want to talk anymore. Not just because of Zhou Chang. It was also because the people around Lele were all ignited with gossip souls, and their curious eyes were staring at her and Zhou Chang, almost grabbing some watermelon and melon seeds. It's just that the last time she and her bad friends chatted through the World Channel, everyone in the game world knew about 312. When Gang Daoran mentioned 312, he got a little excited, and his words of explanation got into the ears of other people, which suddenly brought back their memories of the only lively time in the chat area of the entire world channel caused by 312. They didn't expect that the protagonist was right in front of them, so they naturally moved the small benches one by one. So the mentally strong Taoran just heard them whispering, talking about her excitement, talking about her willingness to sacrifice, talking about her willingness to cheat and be struck by lightning for Zhou Chang, talking about why she didn't give hints to other teammates if she didn't have that, and more. Does her behavior count as interference? Should she be condemned? Tired? Love as much as you like. She also explained no one will listen, and even if they do, the description will get darker and darker. Shut up, she felt that the best way was to fight violence with violence. If you dare to say one word about me again, I will tear your mouths apart right now. Let me reiterate, I have no interest in him. A few guys finally shut up. But a voice still sounded in Taoran's ears, wow. This is the first time I've seen you so excited after you've been here for so many days. It was the baby who spoke. You are so angry that you still say you are not interested? It hung in the air and raised its feet. You were not so angry when I beat you. What about now? Are you going to tear my mouth apart? When Taoran saw it, he could only loosen his clenched fists. She didn't want to be tossed around like a doll in front of so many people. However, the doll's expression is too rough. How could I tear your mouth apart? But I'm warning you. Taoran pinched his hand twice. When I'm angry, my hands tend to shake. When I go to help you find your body later, if I accidentally smash your fragile body into some smelly ditch, I'll have to look for your body. Not coming back. Taoran ignored the baby's shocked expression and jumped back into the coffin. So, men are the most troublesome. When it comes to being sentimental and gossiping, they are much more powerful than women. If there weren't too few women in this game, why would she be misunderstood? Wawa Fei came up and called friend, and Taoran asked him to stay away from him. It flew away, but it flew back to Zhou Chang. You did this. That woman's heart is all about you, you must do it for me, otherwise if my body is broken, I will eat first about you. As soon as Zhou Chang took a step forward, Taoran smashed out a piece of spice. Get away. I can't explain it clearly, even if I jump into the Yellow River, I can't clean it up. And the pressure brought by Zhou Chang doesn't stop there. Compared to Taoran's depression, Zhou Chang was in a good mood. Taoran found that he had been busy on his screen. After asking, I found out that he had just promoted his assistant to a higher level. I have been holding back from upgrading or drawing. I just wanted to find you and draw again. He was honest and didn't hide his thoughts at all. Taoran understood. Sister, I saved up 6 punishments. Upon hearing this, Taoran's scalp began to feel numb. Do you want to bear the punishment with me? Thinking of the last time, 8 people went upstairs together, it was terrible. They originally wanted to steal the chicken to clear the punishment, but ended up wasting several days in the space gap, which directly led to their subsequent falling behind. You've healed your scar and forgot about the pain. Let's make progress together and help each other. Taoran himself also had a lot of roulette wheels to draw. After thinking about it, she still checked the rewards and punishments that she hadn't checked since the last 200 draws. There were nearly 40 times available. In terms of points, the rewards and penalties offset each other, and in the end, I only lost 300 points. From this point of view, I am really lucky. There are many speakers and white gloves. The bonus rewards and punishments were basically equal to each other. In addition, she finally opened another pass card fragment. But there is still no chance card. Then came the punishment, and her most annoying task of extending the stairs 10 times. If you have a lot of debts, you won't have to worry about it. If you have a lot of lice, you won't be itchy. Taoran simply started the lottery. There are still 600 chances. Let's see if we can get another pass gold card. Her lottery luck still favors the trumpet the most. She fired off another bunch. It looked like an eyesore, so she exchanged half of it for points. She finally gathered 10 white gloves again and synthesized the golden gloves. 3 more passes will come out. The chance card finally showed 2 fragments. But even so, she still only had 6. There is still a long way to go before synthesis. In terms of points, I lost 400 points. This makes her current total points still less than 1,000. Of course, what Taoran cared about the most was punishment. After doing some math, I found that for upgrading the assistant this time, she received a total of 2 elongated stairs and 5 other penalties. Coupled with the previous penalty wheel, it is 2 add 6 penalties. If she went upstairs with Zhou Chang, the total number of punishments would be 2 add 12. She could hardly believe how miserable it would be. I have to think about it. Taoran was still undecided and went upstairs with Zhou Chang. At this time, the doll suddenly jumped up, and someone finally came to the corridor. It was Sunyang who came. Thank God. A woman came. Still a discerning woman. Sunyang was so good at winking that Taoran was not worried that she would be eliminated. Sure enough, more than a quarter of an hour later, Sunyang successfully received the mission information and met with several other people. Taoran was quite satisfied with the team this time. They are all acquaintances, and none of them have crotches. The 6-person team was formed. All 6 people received the system message. The team has been assembled. Players are asked to set out immediately to find the 6 parts of the girl's body that were left everywhere and bring them back completely. Limited time, 36 hours. The sooner they are brought back, the richer the reward will be. Also, players please pay attention to personal safety. If you make a mistake in this level, you will be eliminated. If you cannot complete the task within the time limit, you will be eliminated. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 946. There is also a diagram included in the system message. It can be seen that the entire underground palace cannot go back. This means that even if players find parts of the mummy's body, they cannot turn back and send it back first. Instead, they have to transport and protect those body parts with them throughout the process. The difficulty is certainly not small. The cohesiveness of the 6-person team will also be important. Taoran felt that he was at a disadvantage. Just like that time when she was waiting for the team to be formed, this time she waited almost 3 days longer. Should she be compensated? She asked her assistant to communicate with the system. This time, the assistant received the confirmation quickly, and the system added 1,000 points and a non-penalty roulette wheel. Taoran turned around immediately. I wonder if I can visit Treasure Space again? If it really doesn't work, I might as well give you some bonuses. However, it turned out that she thought too much. She drew the points reward and got 500 points. That's it? That's it? The countdown has begun. The 6 people set off quickly. And Taoran became the team leader again. Everyone else already knew that she was number 444, and they had all fought against her before. No one competed with her at all. Instead, they all unanimously recommended her. The doll floated over and hugged Taoran. You are my recognized friend. You must bring my body back safe and sound. Good. Taoran received another system message. Open. Congratulations to the player for gaining a choice opportunity based on his personal charm. Continue to scroll down. The player has received the blessing from the doll girl, and his luck value is increased by 10%. So much. Before Taoran could be happy, his face turned dark when he saw the next sentence. Does the player choose to accept the blessing? Note, the conditions for acceptance are as follows. The doll girl has high expectations for the players. If the player can satisfy the doll at the end of the series, the luck bonus in this level will accompany the player until the end of the tower attack. However, if the doll is dissatisfied with the player at the end of the series, not only will the luck value in this level be withdrawn, but the player will also receive the doll's curse. In subsequent tower attack games, the luck value will be reduced by 30% throughout the process. This one is speechless enough. Okay, 10% extra for the whole process. No, why do we need to reduce it by 30%? Her luck in the game is average. It took a lot of effort to get a little better recently. If another third of it was lost in one breath, she would probably be possessed by a degenerate spirit. She really wanted to refuse this unequal multiple choice question. But when she saw the next line of words, she really couldn't do it. If the player refuses to accept the blessing, the doll girl will become depressed due to the failure of her heart. The evil energy of the underground palace will follow the player uncontrollably, and the player's luck value will drop by 10%. It's just off the mark. If you choose, you will get 10%, if you don't choose, you will be penalized 10%. Is this forcing them to take a gamble? No profit if you win, no gambling, or a huge loss if you lose. The other 5 people all looked at Tao Ran. Tao Ran, what? Captain, don't you accept it? We have also received a mission. Oh, let me think about it. Confirm it, you won't lose much anyway. Are you sure they are the same choice? Tao Ran informed him of the content of his multiple choice question. As a result, the other 5 people shook their heads. Their conditions are different. The other 5 people all choose to receive the blessing and receive an increase of 10%. If the task fails, they will receive a decrease of 15%. The difference between winning and losing is only 5%, which they can basically accept. Tao Ran spoke directly to the baby, why am I different from them? You are my friend. I expect more from you, the doll took it for granted. And you're still the captain. As a captain, don't you have to take on more responsibilities? Tao Ran was speechless. Is it too late to resign as captain? Why are you hesitating? Zhou Chenglei asked. We all accepted it. Tao Ran raised a very realistic question. Have you forgotten what mission the mayor gave you? Are you sure you will satisfy that person by the end of the series? The baby is here, but she can't say it clearly. But she really wanted to give them a big blow on their heads. If the final plot involves sealing the dolls, then the dolls must hate them to the core? How can you still be satisfied? Are these people forgetful or dizzy? Several people hissed in unison, realizing that what the captain said made sense. Then, Xiao Wang raised a more realistic question. 3 minutes have passed. Are you sure you want to continue the discussion? Tao Ran was forced to make an immediate decision and accepted this multiple choice question. She had no choice but to accept it. Everyone accepts it, so the team's luck value will increase. As the most powerful person in combat, she was pushed to take the lead. If she was delayed, it would be very troublesome. Fortunately, the assistant comforted her, don't worry, sister. The game is about fairness and justice. Sister must firmly believe that there will be no unequal choices in the game. If there is, there will be compensation in the future. Yeah. What else do you know? I also know that sister can ask everyone to persevere, because after the 100th level, even if everyone is eliminated, they can return to their own world. But if they are eliminated before the 100th level, everyone will disappear completely. The news is good, but everyone comes here for rewards rather than simply to survive. The doll gave me a direction. The 6 people walked towards the dark front without any light. Several people were highly focused, holding weapons and flashlights in hand, and moved forward cautiously. They entered a passage again. Soon, the front suddenly became clear. The surrounding walls changed from brick to natural stone walls. They saw a standing sign with the 73rd floor marked on it. A few steps further and there is no path. Only a cliff slope remains. We can only go uphill. But as soon as they set foot on the slope, they found that they could not move forward. And the system message has also arrived. To put it nicely, this level is a double test of the cooperation of the mind and body. But the specific rules are not friendly. They take turns answering the questions, and if they answer correctly, one of them gets to walk for 3 seconds. If you answer it incorrectly, the slope ahead will become steeper. For every wrong question, 10 degrees will be added to the slope. The test will not end until someone climbs to the top under the rules and pulls out the sword on the top of the mountain. If the slope exceeds ground level, the mission fails. The 6 people shined a light on the top of the slope together, took a telescope and took a closer look, and saw a sword and a flag. What's marked on the flag is 74. Xiao Wang, on this level, there is only one project, cliff climbing. It shows that the questions will most likely not be simple. This point has been generally recognized by everyone. Here comes the problem. How to determine the order of answering questions? Because according to the rules, the first person to answer the question will be the first person to choose to go up. The first person has a long way to go and must be fast. He must reach the top and win the flag while answering as few wrong questions as possible. This person then lowers the rope and helps others up. Everyone's first reaction was Tao Ran. Everyone knows that she has bonuses and is very skilled. She also has the golden gauntlet, which gives her a strength bonus, so she has enough strength to help others once she arrives. Ken. I'm terrible at answering questions under Ah Zhong's scrutiny, she was very honest. If I go up first, it will definitely increase the slope.